Hey y'all, welcome to the Filling Station. It's a new day, another opportunity to make money in the market or to learn from the market. Let's say that, y'all. But let me go ahead and give my disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth, and the stock market is just one of those avenues. With that being said, this video is for educational purposes only, y'all. So let's get started. We are looking at the VIX, and right now we are having finding support at 1655, and our resistance is right here at the 1677. So that's our zone, right? So we're trading in this gathering spot. Now the VIX could very well come back to the upside, right? It looked like it was giving us a signal here that it was trying to break through this place, but we're right here at the 5 EMA. So our trouble places for the VIX is at 1690 and this ATR trailing stop at 1720. We could very well come back and retest this 200 EMA, which is around the 1763. If we break that level and that 50 MA, keep in mind that the 170.90 to the 1803 was our gathering spot from the other day. So we could very well come back and test this area. Keep in mind when the VIX is down, which is it's right there at the 5, then the SPY normally goes to the upside. So our trouble place is getting above this 200 EMA. If we break above the 1690 area, then we have broke above the 200 EMA on the 1-hour chart, and we could very well continue to the upside. Now keep in mind, it doesn't always have to go up. We also have trouble here or support to the downside at the 1565, which is the ATR trailing stop, and the 5 and 50 looks like it's trying to cross on this 4-hour chart. So the market can go in either direction today. Let's say that 1519 is our 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart for the VIX. So let's go to the SPY, because normally when we look at the VIX, it kind of gives an idea of how the SPY is moving. SPY hit a resistance of 501.43, which is right here. It tested this before, came down to our gathering spot only to come back above the 5 EMA. So it looks like we're moving to the upside with the SPY. The support right now is at 499.79. Our resistance is at the 569. That was one level, right? So we know that we can come back to this zone. Right now we're finding our support above the 5, which is at the 579. Our resistance 501.43. So these are our areas that we need to be careful with, right? It was the 499.79 to the 569. So now that 569 is our support, and 501.43 is our resistance. So that is our zone for the SPY. And if you trade the SPY, I always say trade carefully. Yesterday we made it, we hit that high of 502.38, so we can come back and break through that area. So right now, looking at it on this 1-hour chart, then 504.34 is our trouble place, and that's the 200 EMA. So we could very well break through that to the upside, or we can go break through 503.57, have trouble at the 505.16, only retest this 509.64. So I would say those are our trouble places for the SPY to the upside. And as you can see, it looks like we're trying to go in that direction. Looking at it on a higher time frame, this is the 4-hour chart. It looks like that 5 and 50 is trying to make its way back up to meet and cross, and which will be a bullish signal for us. I always say trade carefully. Just keep in mind, if SPY decides to come down to the downside and break those levels of support, or under the 499.79 or under the 498.25 or 497.47. If it breaks under those levels, then it can come back and retest this 493.57. I always say trade carefully. Allow your chart to lead you and tell you what it's going to do, right? So let me give you some inside day candles. The QQQ is an inside day. The target, if it breaks above 421.18, the target is 422.75. Below 413.94, the target is 413.07. It too is creating a gathering spot for us, so it can move in either direction, right? So the support right now is at 419.32. Our resistance is at 420.39. If you trade the QQQ, trade carefully. The SQQQ is also an inside day. The target trigger to the upside is 12.93. with the target of 12.99, 12.25 to the downside with the target of 12.16, and it too is creating a gathering spot for us. So 12.35 to about 1247. 1235 is our support. 1247 is our resistance area. So I would trade carefully if you trade SQQQ. MU is also an inside day. The target to the upside, if it breaks above 110.23, 110.88 is our target. Below 106.63, 105.72 is our target. It too is creating a gathering spot for us here at 109.86 as our support, which is right there under, yeah, it's kind of just right there under the 5 slightly. And 110.23 is going to be our resistance right now, or a little bit above that. 110.34 is our resistance at this point. So I would say if you trade MU, trade carefully. Coinbase or coin is an inside day. The target to the upside, if it breaks above 227.14, then the target is 227.76. To the downside, below 215.03, the target is 210.18. Keep in mind that it too is creating a gathering spot. Our support at this point is around the 224.06 area. It seemed like we came under that just slightly to 223.55 range. So I would watch these levels, if I traded coin, to see that. And resistance is right here at 225, around the 225.19 area. So again, if you trade coin, I always say trade carefully and watch your levels. Amazon is another inside day, and it looks like we are already testing that target, right? The trigger was 178.83, and the high of this candle right now is 178.84. So we are there, right? So Amazon could be a trade and come back and test this 179.72. Let me say that. So if it breaks 178.83, the target to the upside is 179, which we could very well test that, but our trouble place is at 179.72. To the downside for Amazon, if it decides to come back to the downside, 174.61. If it breaks that level, 173.44 is our support. And right now it was trading in a gathering spot at 177.38 to 177.86. It broke above that, and that 177.86 became our support, and it created 178.37 as our resistance. So we could very well, keep climbing to the upside, or it could always come back and trade within these zones. So I always say y'all trade carefully, trade cautiously. So we're going to go to AMD. AMD is interesting. It's been trading in this gathering spot, as you can see, for a few days since yesterday. This was our range here. So right now, at 4 o'clock, I always try to go to the 4 o'clock candle. At 4 o'clock, our support area was between 149.66. Resistance was at 150.44. It broke past that place. So that 150.44 is now our support range. And it moved up to this 151.30 on a strong candle around 6:30, only to create another gathering spot here. So we're going to make a new gathering spot at 151.30 and 151.92 as our resistance. Keep in mind that it could very well come back and test those areas again. It is above the 5 EMA. It is making higher highs. We do have trouble at 154.94, which is 200 EMA. I always say y'all trade carefully, trade cautiously. This could be an area of rejection and bring us back to the downside. So don't get caught up in it's moving up, because it could very well reverse at any given time, right? So if it breaks above this 151.92, which I have my alert set at 152.09, then it could very well come back to this area, which was a previous gathering spot or a previous level of resistance and or support at 158.78. So if we break this area, we can come up to the 158.78. Looking at it on this 1 hour chart, we do have trouble at 161.02. So we can see it a little bit clearer on this 4 hour chart that our trouble place is at 152.02 and 157.43. We're definitely going to have trouble if we make it past these areas, because it's right here at the 50 EMA and a previous support area at that 158.78. So if you're trading AMD, it needs to break above, if it breaks above this 152.60 range, we could very well continue up to the upside. Again, I always say trade carefully, because just when we think it's going to move up, it could very well come back to the downside. And if it breaks under the 149.52 area, then we do have support at 148.93, or it can come all the way back down to this 146.87 or the 145 63. Those are areas that I would definitely keep in mind for AMD if I traded AMD. Let me say that. So we're going to go back to, let's go to NVIDIA. NVIDIA is an inside day candle, and that to the up, we've already broken through the target, the trigger. The trigger to the upside, it was at the $800.73. The target was 843.24. So we have a target of 843.24. To the downside, if it breaks below 764, the downside target is 756.06. It too is creating a gathering spot for us. This is our zone right here. Right now it's 804.31 as support, 810.23 as resistance. So I would say trade carefully, because we do have trouble here at 828.70, and that's at the 200 EMA. However, our support to the downside here is under 795.85. That's the 50 EMA. If we break that level, then we can come back to the 787.48. So right now it's kind of moving in a range, and we really don't know the direction. And again, I always say, y'all, just trade what you see. Pay attention to your charts. Pay attention to your levels. So NVIDIA will need to break above this 50 EMA, which is above the 810, 809. 21, 810, 41, somewhere around there. It needs to break and hold above that if I, think it's going to come up and reach this 843.24 target. But keep in mind, NVIDIA moves $19.38. That has been adjusted. So it moves $19.38 per day. See how the ATR definitely changes, because I remember that being about $32 a day. So yeah, so again, trade what you see, mark your gathering spots, right, and trade. It's easy to trade once it break out of that area, but just remember that's an area of support and resistance, and normally price comes back to that area, y'all. So I hope these videos are very, very helpful. This is the SPY. We have tested this 501.43 area twice. The high of this candle is 501.45. So we are trading in this zone right now. So our support is at 569. Our resistance is 501.43 or 501.49 area. I would say watch this, because again, if we break above this, we have broken. So I'll put my alert here. If we break above this area, then we've broken through resistance, and we can continue to the downside. Now to the downside, we can continue to the upside. If we break above 501.43 and close above that, my alert is at 501.58. We could very well continue to the upside. So I will put my alert under that level of what I had it marked at 499 as support. If it breaks below that level, then I would look for SPY to be declining. So yeah, again, y'all, I hope these videos are very, very helpful. This is how I see the market when I'm looking at it, and anything is possible. Keep in mind, y'all, Tesla reports earnings today. And again, Tesla is moving in this zone, in this gathering spot. Don't get caught up into your IV crush, because the options are going to be very expensive today. And I always say be very, very careful. So right now, Tesla at 4 o'clock, this was our gathering spot, 142.55 to 143.16. 143.16 is our resistance, which is right here at the 50 EMA, 143.42. So Tesla would need to break above all of this if I would think that it was going to go to the upside. So I'm going to set an alert at the 144 area. If Tesla breaks above that, then we could very well go up and test this 144.68, which is our ATR trailing stop. So I always ask, where am I going to have trouble? And today, Tesla is going to be interesting. Keep in mind that 140.01 is a level of support. If we break below that area, then we can come back and retest this 138.83. So be mindful of those areas if you trade Tesla. I always say trade carefully. And above, 144 area can give us a target of 146.69. That's a retest of this candle. And again, y'all, it's going to be interesting to see how Tesla trades because of what's going on in the news. And, everybody's expecting earnings to be bad, and they could flip that and run it all the way back to the upside. So don't get caught up in the, it's going to report bad earnings and the stock is going to decline, because that's not always the case. Sometimes good news is good news, and sometimes good news is bad news. Let's say that, y'all. Or bad news is good news. Let me rephrase that. So y'all again, I hope these videos are very, very helpful. This is how I see the market when I'm looking at the charts, and Again, it's another way to make money in the market or to even learn from the market. I'm super, super excited. I hope that everyone have a very, very profitable day. Very profitable day. Let's say that, right? So until next time, y'all be blessed as well as a blessing unto others.